Next on Good Morning El Paso, families across Europe are grieving after the crash of a plane in France. We have the latest on the investigation.
Also in El Paso, police officer killed during a funeral procession last week is laid to rest.
And math and literacy coaches in the El Paso school district might have to reapply for their jobs this summer. We'll tell you why. Plus, your Storm Track Weather coverage starts now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso.
And good morning. It is 6 o'clock, and here's a live look outside this Wednesday morning, courtesy of our downtown cam. This one's not bouncing around because it's pretty well fixed on there, but also the winds are pretty nice out there.
It's looking pretty good.
Very good morning to you, El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez. I'm Stephanie Valle.
And I'm Luke Lyddon in for Hillary Florin. Good morning, everyone. Let's send it over to Storm Check meteorologist Crystal Klein. And Crystal, those temperatures, they're looking pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a good start to our morning. Again, we've seen this last couple days. Not too chilly enough that if you forget the coat, you can run to the car and you'll be all right. We're starting out at 58 degrees in El Paso this morning. Your winds, they're at 6 miles per hour, so not too strong, at least not yet. In Las Cruces, 45 is the temperature. It does feel like 41 degrees with winds at 7 miles per hour. If we look at those winds across the map, though, some of us are a bit breezy. Winds at 14 miles per hour. Guadalupe Pass, 13 Ruidoso, and 12 Tier C. Those winds, though, don't look too high compared to what we're expecting later today. We'll talk about how high those gusts are expected to go in just a few minutes.
All right, Crystal, thank you. Still no answers this morning after yesterday's devastating plane crash in the French Alps that killed all 150 people on board. Investigators are now looking for clues in one of the black boxes found. Let's go to ABC's Bazi Kanani with the latest.
Searchers returned this morning to a rugged alpine mountain, recovering bodies and personal items from the plane's scattered wreckage as families across Europe grieve.
Die ist total ruhig.
The town is silent. Everyone is in total shock, says a mourner in the German town of Haltern, which lost 16 high schoolers and 2 teachers returning from an exchange program. The Germanwings aircraft took off from Barcelona just after 10 a.m. Tuesday on a 2-hour flight to Dusseldorf. On board, 150 people, including 2 babies and 6 crew members. The Airbus A320 had just reached cruising altitude of 38,000 feet when suddenly it started a steep descent. Local witnesses saw the plane on the way down. Then, we heard a very loud sound like dynamite, says this woman. Aviation experts believe the plane's quick descent was intentional because of some type of emergency, but say why there was no distress call is puzzling.
Normally, when you start an emergency descent and you turn off course a little bit as they did, you're going into oncoming traffic, and step number 1 after you get it established in the descent is to call air traffic control.
This morning, officials believe this was a horrific accident, saying hijacking or terrorism is unlikely. The Airbus A320 is a plane with a good safety record. There are more than 6,000 of them in service today. The plane that crashed had undergone a routine safety inspection the previous day. Bazi Kanani, ABC News, Washington.
El Paso police bury their brother in blue.
One of us goes down, we all feel it. He worked out of the valley. Our last 2 officers that went down are out of the valley.
Officer Adrian Arellano, the El Paso motorcycle officer killed while guiding a funeral procession last week, was laid to rest. This is video of his wife receiving the flag that was draped over his coffin. Yesterday's service brought together law enforcement from all over Texas. One senior police officer from Corpus Christi even rode 10 hours to El Paso just to be a part of the procession.
That's just a small price to pay just to honor a fallen motorcycle officer. We want the family and the community of El Paso to understand and know that, there's folks in Corpus Christi that care about what happens.
Officer Arellano, 39 years old, was a 10-year veteran of the force. He leaves behind his wife and 11-year-old son. And meanwhile, El Paso police said the woman accused of driving into Arellano's path at Yarborough and Edgemere is Maria Soto. Investigators say she ignored directions from a second officer who was also guiding the funeral procession. Charges have not been filed, but they could be after police complete the investigation and the DA reviews it. A makeshift memorial in honor of Officer Arellano went up near Yarborough and Edgemere. Flowers, stuffed animals, and a sign are there, all to comfort his family.
And speaking of makeshift memorials, Luke, El Paso City Council is considering putting a time limit on the memorials honoring a person killed on the road. One proposal would allow them to only stay up for a month. Loved ones would then need to apply for a city plaque if they'd like to keep a loved one's memory alive at the specified location. City officials are concerned that over time, the memorials become dumping grounds. The city does have an ordinance right now that allows them to pick up the memorials, but city officials want to make sure that the memorials have some uniformity. 30 years in prison. That's just one of the sentences the so-called Manhattan Heights rapist will serve. Last week, Arturo Valtierra Payan pleaded guilty to 3 more counts of aggravated sexual assault. The punishment will be served concurrently with 4 life sentences and a 99-year prison sentence Valtierra is already serving. That was his punishment for the 2013 rape of a woman who also lived in that neighborhood in central El Paso. Valtierra faces more charges that could soon go to trial. One for allegedly attacking a couple in their Manhattan Heights home, and another case is pending in Fort Worth.
Happening today, Italy's Supreme Court will consider whether to uphold Amanda Knox's conviction in the 2007 killing of her British roommate Meredith Kercher. The fate of Knox's former boyfriend will also be decided. Last year, the Florence Appellate Court found that the 2011 ruling that acquitted Knox and her boyfriend were to be absent of logic rigor. It sentenced Knox to 28.5 years behind bars. A confirmed sentence means police will immediately arrest her boyfriend and he'll begin to serve his 25-year jail term. Also happening today, the testimony is due to resume in the trial of Boston Marathon bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Much of the testimony yesterday focused on Tsarnaev's familiarity with a gun. Prosecutors presented this video which shows Tsarnaev and his older brother Tamerlan going to a firing range in New Hampshire for shooting practice. According to prosecutors, the pair used the gun skills they practiced to shoot and kill an MIT officer days after the bombing. The defense has named the older brother as the gunman, but prosecutors have tried to paint the younger brother as a willing participant.
At 6:07, it's time to take a look at our TxDOT traffic cameras. Looking over at I-10 and Zaragoza in Far East El Paso, you can see those headlights, lots of them, as people are getting onto the freeway to head to work or school this morning. Be careful as you get on the roads. No problems to report at this point.
And the day is almost here. Opening day for the El Paso Chihuahuas is just days away.
Can you believe it? But you might notice some changes when you attend a game this summer. A look at some new rules.
Also, there's been a change of plans for Afghanistan. U.S. troops will not be leaving as soon as they thought.
And get ready for those winds. Meteorologist Crystal Fly has your detailed forecast. Crystal.
And we are tracking those winds affecting the forecast not just today, but we're talking as we move right on into your forecast tomorrow. The details are up after your break.
Thanks, Crystal. It's 6:08 and this is ABC 7, where news comes first.